Good morning, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed the last chapter, which was a little short, but chapter 12 is a bit longer, so this will be a bit of a longer video for you. I have Moosey sleeping in the background. He's taking a nap. So, chapter 12 is called The Cyclone. Last we read in chapter 11, Alex, Connor, Jack, Goldilocks, Red, Mother Goose, and Lester went into the Wonderful Wizard of Oz book because it was the book that had the light coming out from it, and they assumed that the masked man went in there. So they're going to go after him and see if they can stop him in the Wonderful Wizard of Oz book. Okay, so chapter 12 is called The Cyclone. And if any of you are familiar with the Wonderful Wizard of Oz book or even the movie, you can probably take a guess why this chapter is called The Cyclone. Despite their prior experiences of traveling between dimensions, Alex and Connor were absolutely astonished. In a matter of seconds, the vast prairies of Kansas had been created around them, and their mouths were as wide open as their awestruck friends. Even Lester's jaw dropped at the sight of it all. "It worked," Alex said. "Not that I wasn't expecting it to, but I still can't believe it actually worked." "It's remarkable," Goldilocks agreed. The only thing that traveled with them from the cave was the Wonderful Wizard of Oz book itself. It was lying open on the ground and emitting a bright beam of light exactly as it had done in the cave. Connor stuck his head through the beam and saw Hagetta standing in the cave. "Well," Hagetta said. "It worked," he said, and gave her a thumbs up. "Was just luck." Connor leaned back into the story and shut the book. The beam disappeared, but reappeared as soon as he opened it. He closed it again and tucked it safely into the back of his belt. Red looked around the fields as if she had never seen anything so bleak. "So this is the other world?" she asked. "It's L. Frank Baum's interpretation of it," Alex said. "But technically, yes." "Well, it's just lovely," Red said, but her face told differently. "It reminds me of my kingdom, if all the happiness and color had been drained from it." The lack of color was quite depressing, and it immediately put the group in a somber mood. In fact, they were the only colorful things in this world. They heard barking and a child's laughter coming from inside the farmhouse. It was nice to know some cheerfulness existed in this place. The door of the house opened, and an old man with a white beard stepped out onto the front lawn. He stared up at the sky uneasily. "The sky is awfully gray today, Em," the man called back to the house. "Grayer than it usually is." A frail farmer's wife walked out of the house and began sweeping the porch. "Oh, Henry, stop it," Em said. "The sky looks no different than it did yesterday or the day before that." A little girl appeared behind the screen door. She was adorable and wore pigtails and a dainty dress. She held her scruffy little dog in her arms and lovingly stroked his fur. "No, I've got a bad feeling about this," Henry said. "We may have a cyclone on our hands." "You'll worry Dorothy if you keep talking like that. Now go inside," Em ordered. The little girl held her dog a bit tighter and stared up at the sky with the same concern as her uncle. It was too late. "Who are those sad people?" Red asked the twins. "And what's a cyclone? Is he talking about a one-eyed man?" Alex and Connor didn't respond. This wasn't the first time they had seen their favorite childhood storybook characters come to life, but it was an enthralling sight nonetheless. Dorothy spotted them and shrieked with joy. "Auntie Em! Uncle Henry!" she said. "Look over there! It's other people!" It must have been a long time since the girl had seen another soul besides her aunt and uncle. She was more excited to see the twins and their friends than they were to see her. Dorothy ran across the field to greet them. Henry and Em were so surprised by the visitors, they didn't move. "Hello there," Dorothy said. "What brings you to our farm?" "Hi there, Dorothy," Connor said. Dorothy gasped. "How did you know my name?" she asked with large eyes. Alex shot Connor a dirty look and he panicked. Because, he struggled. A huge smile grew on Dorothy's face. "I know," she said. "You're a fortune teller, aren't you? I knew it from the moment I saw you. You're a traveling circus." With nothing better to say, everyone just nodded. Indeed, Connor said, and instantly broke into an outrageous character. I am Master Connor Mundo, psychic extraordinaire. The men, woman, and bird behind me are part of the world-renowned Bailey Traveling Circus. Dorothy excitedly jumped up and down. Toto barked at them. Even he seemed overdue for some entertainment. This was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to them. Allow me to introduce my friends, Connor said with an overdramatic gestures. Meet Jack, the circus strongman. Goldie, the sword juggler. Red, the uptight mistress of the tightrope. Straight from the wild Madagascar jungles, meet the Lestersaurus and his tamer, Madame Goose. And last but not least, my sister, Alexandra, the bearded lady. What? Alex said. But she doesn't have a beard, Dorothy pointed out. She shaved this morning, Connor said. Alex rolled her eyes. Nothing was ever easy when she traveled with her brother. We were on our way to Kansas City and stumbled upon your humble abode, Connor said. That's putting it nicely, Red said. I'm so glad you did, Dorothy said. Nothing exciting ever happens around here. It tickled the twins, and they exchanged a smile. They knew more about her than she knew about herself. Won't you please stay for supper? Dorothy asked, then turned to her aunt and uncle. Can they join us, Auntie Em? Oh, please say yes. Auntie Em and Uncle Henry looked at each other and shrugged. I suppose, Uncle Henry said. Hope you like corn, Auntie Em said. Connor quickly looked back at the others, but none of them objected. Supper sounds like a good idea, Mother Goose said. I'm a little hungry, and if Lester doesn't eat every 4 hours, he gets really crabby. Don't look at me like that, Lester. I wouldn't say it if it weren't true. Dorothy escorted her visitors into the farmhouse. The house was so small, it was only one room. It had a stove, a cupboard, 2 beds, a table, and 4 chairs, forcing everyone but Connor to eat on the beds and on the floor. True to her word, Auntie Em served corn, and that was all. Please tell me about all the places you have been to, Dorothy requested at dinner. Well, I have good memories of Baton Rouge and Jefferson City, Mother Goose said. But if you want to make a few bucks, Texas is where the money is. The others gave her a strange look. How did she know that? What? Mother Goose said. You think this is the first circus I've been in? Uncle Henry and Auntie Em never looked up from their corn, but Dorothy was all eyes and ears. Living on the Kansas farm must have been such a dull life, but the adventures that awaited her would definitely make up for a lifetime of boredom. You folks certainly get around, Uncle Henry said. Speaking of getting around, Jack said, have any of you noticed an awkward man around these parts? He might go by Lloyd or the Masked Man, Goldilocks said. He's a friend of ours from the circus. We're looking for him. Can't say we have, Auntie Em said. Y'all are the only visitors we've had since as far back as I can remember. This was disappointing and also confusing to the twins. If there was no sign of their uncle in this story, had he already traveled into another book? He must be somewhere else, Connor said. It was a loaded statement, but luckily only his sister and friends caught on. I wish I was somewhere else, Dorothy said with a sigh. Sometimes I dream about joining the circus just so I can see the world, but I don't think Toto and I will ever get out of Kansas. A strong wail of wind came from outside, followed shortly by a high-pitched whistling. The sounds were alarming, and Dorothy, Henry, and Em froze solid. The tiny house began to rock as the wind grew stronger and stronger outside. It's a cyclone, Henry yelled, and stood up from the table. I'll free the animals. He jumped from the table and ran out of the house in a panic. Not knowing any better, Mother Goose, Lester, Red, Goldilocks, and Jack quickly followed him. What are you guys doing? Connor yelled. We need to stay inside the house, Alex called after them. They have a storm cellar. It was too late. Their friends were already outside, and they didn't hear a word Connor and Alex said over the strong winds. Em dove to the center of the room and rolled up the rug, revealing a square door built into the floor. Quick, Dorothy, follow me into the cellar, Em ordered. She pulled the door open and climbed into the storm cellar under the house. Toto was frightened and jumped off of Dorothy's lap and hid under her bed. "Toto," she said, "come here, boy." While Dorothy tried to retrieve her dog, Alex and Connor ran outside to retrieve their friends. The sky was so gray it was almost black. The wind blew from every direction and was so strong it was almost impossible to stay standing. The twins found their friends in the barn helping Henry set the farm animals free. The cows and horses ran out of the barn and into the fields, away from the approaching storm. "You guys, we've got to get back into the house," Connor yelled. "Trust us, this is going to get nasty." "The storm cellar's the only guaranteed chance we have to survive this," Alex said. They figured the twins knew what they were doing since they knew the story, and so they followed the twins out of the barn and back toward the house, but came to a quick halt. They screamed and pointed to the sky. Spiraling down from the black clouds was an enormous tornado. The tornado touched the ground and headed directly for the small farmhouse. The twins and their friends had to grab one another's hands to stay on their feet. "We don't have time to get to the cellar," Connor yelled. Alex screamed. "Connor, look over there!" she shouted, and pointed to a nearby field. Running as fast as humanly possible against the wind was Alex and Connor's uncle. His stolen bag of books was slung over his shoulder, and he was bolting for the farmhouse. Even more shocking was that he hadn't replaced the mask Connor had ripped off in the library, so for a split second, the twins thought they were seeing their father. Lloyd leaped onto the porch and saluted the twins. He had been in Kansas the entire time, just waiting for the storm to break. The tornado was only a few yards away from the house, and Lloyd ran inside. The farmhouse was ripped off its foundation and flew into the air. Like a gigantic, cloudy monster, the cyclone swallowed the house, and it disappeared into the vortex. "Dorothy!" Henry shouted, and ran toward the twister. "Henry, wait! Stay with us!" Jack yelled after the farmer. "No, Jack," Alex said. "Leave him. He'll be okay." "How do you know?" Jack said. "Because I've read the book," Alex said. The wind was deafening and only grew louder as the tornado drew closer. At first, Connor thought they should all travel back through the wonderful Wizard of Oz book and into the cave, but he would have lost it in the powerful wind if they tried. "Everyone, back into the barn!" Connor yelled. It was their only option of survival now. The terrified group pulled and pushed one another until they all made it back into the barn. Once they were inside, they slammed the door shut and grabbed hold of anything they could wrap their arms around. Connor clutched a post with one arm and the book with the other. The tornado smashed into the barn and tore the roof off. The barn began to sway and creak. It tilted back and forth, leaning farther each time. "Houston, we have liftoff!" Mother Goose shouted. The barn spun into the air, flying higher by the second. Their feet dangled in the air. There was no way of telling which way was up or down. The tornado was so powerful, gravity didn't apply. The barn doors were sucked off their hinges. Red lost her grip and was pulled out of the barn. "Red!" the twins screamed in unison. "Lester, go get her!" Mother Goose ordered. The goose let go of a stable door he had been clutching with his beak and flew into the storm. The wind blew him in circles around the tornado. Every so often he would see a big ball of red fabric pass him. It was red. Lester spread his wings so the wind blew him faster, and he managed to catch a piece of Red's dress in his mouth. "Lester, help me!" Red screamed. "Don't let me die in such an ugly place!" The barn was flying directly at them. Lester pulled Red close to his body and wrapped his wings around her, turning himself into a big, feathery ball. He smashed straight through the barn wall, returning to the others. "Great work, Lester!" Mother Goose shouted. "I thought being left at the altar would be the worst part of my week," Red yelled. The barn flew uncontrollably around in the air as the storm continued. Occasionally, the twins could spot the farmhouse bobbing up and down in the center of the tornado, but there was no way they could reach it. The cyclone sped even faster, flinging the barn in one direction and the farmhouse into another. The world spun so fast outside the barn, no one could make out where they were headed. For the first time, bright colors could be seen somewhere in the distance, but they couldn't tell if it was the ground or the sky. The barn kept spinning and spinning, falling faster and faster, but they had no idea what they were falling into. All right, boys and girls, so that was chapter 12. So I'm excited to see what happens, where they land, what they're going to see. Obviously, Red, Jack, Goldilocks, Mother Goose, they don't really know what they're getting themselves into, but because Connor and Alex read The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, they know what they could be doing or where they could be going. So I look forward to reading the next chapter to you and check back for more videos. Bye, guys. I miss you so much.